The worst pain for a man is the moment he thinks he's lost her. It creeps in quietly at first. Maybe she takes a little longer to reply, maybe the conversations don't have the same warmth. Then suddenly the calls stop, the energy shifts, and the silence becomes deafening. What once felt vibrant and full of connection now feels hollow. That shift hits hard. Your mind goes into overdrive, replaying every moment, every message, every conversation. You question your words, your tone, your timing. You dig through the past trying to find the exact moment things began to change, convinced you missed something obvious. And in that spiral, most men panic. They act out of fear, not clarity. They reach out repeatedly, hoping to spark the connection again. They send long texts trying to explain themselves, apologize for things they don't even understand, or ask what went wrong. They make promises they shouldn't have to make, promises to change, to do better, to fix it. But all of that comes from one place: desperation. And desperation is the enemy of attraction. What most men don't realize is that this moment, the one where everything feels lost, is not always the end. It's often just a shift in energy, in dynamic, in rhythm. Women don't typically walk away all at once. They pull back gradually. Not always out of rejection, but out of uncertainty. She pulls away to see what kind of man you are when things aren't perfect. She pulls back to see if your strength is consistent or conditional. This moment you fear, the one where you believe she's gone, it's not the loss. It's the test. And how you respond right here in this tension will shape everything. Panic and you prove her doubt right. Stay calm, grounded, and in control, and you become more than she thought you were. Most men crumble in the face of this silence. Few rise. The ones who rise? Those are the men she can't forget. When a woman pulls away, it's rarely random, and even more rarely final. What feels like distance is often a test, not a departure. In that quiet space where she becomes colder, slower to respond, less affectionate, she's not just drifting, she's observing. She's watching not with anger but with instinct. She's trying to see if the man she's chosen is truly who he appeared to be when things were easy. Because any man can be confident when affection flows freely, but who are you when she pulls back? Who are you when things get uncertain? This is where most men fail. They assume the pullback means rejection, that love has ended, that they've already lost. So they react emotionally. They chase, they try harder, they push for reassurance. But in doing so, they reveal something fatal to attraction: insecurity. A woman doesn't pull back to be cruel. She does it because she wants to feel safe in your presence. And safety to a woman is rooted in your emotional steadiness, not in your words. If your confidence collapses the moment she stops showering you with attention, then it was never real to begin with. That's the essence of the test. She wants to know, is your calm an act or is it who you really are? Can you stay grounded when the emotional tide shifts? If your strength only exists when she's warm, she will lose faith in you the moment she turns cold. But if you stay composed, if you don't chase, if you remain focused on your path, she feels something deeper than attraction. She feels trust. She begins to see you as unshakable, and that, to her, is magnetic. This test of strength is not about being heartless. It's about emotional discipline. It's about proving, not to her but to yourself, that your worth isn't determined by her affection. In holding your ground, you not only pass her test, you set yourself apart from every man who's ever fallen apart in her silence. And that changes everything. Silence from a woman can feel like a dagger. When she stops reaching out, when the messages slow down, when the warmth that once lit up your days turns cold, it's easy to assume the worst. Your mind tells you she's done, that she doesn't care anymore, that you've lost her. But here's what most men don't realize: her silence isn't always rejection. In fact, more often than not, it's reflection. It's a pause, a retreat inward, guided by instinct, not malice. A woman pulls back when she feels uncertain, when something doesn't sit right emotionally, when she needs space to breathe and assess. It's not necessarily because you failed or did something wrong. It's because her feelings are shifting, maybe because of you, maybe because of her own internal storm. And in that moment, she needs to observe, not speak. She needs to feel, not explain. This is how many women process conflict, doubt, or fear, through silence. And here's the irony: the very thing that makes a man panic, her distance, is often the thing she's using to test your depth. She wants to see how you handle uncertainty, how you respond when she isn't giving you constant reassurance. Do you stay calm or do you spiral? Do you respect her space, or do you rush to fill the silence with desperation? Her instincts are watching closely, not just your actions but your energy. If you chase too soon, try to force closeness or demand answers, you confirm her fears. You show her that your confidence is fragile, that your sense of control depends on her validation. But if you remain grounded, patient, and unmoved by the emotional withdrawal, something powerful happens. Her instincts soften. Her walls begin to lower. Because in you she sees something rare, a man who doesn't need to panic in the face of emotional distance. That's what separates boys from men. Rejection isn't in her silence, it's in how you respond to it. The space she creates isn't always the end. It's an invitation to show your stability. Most men never see that. And that's why they lose. Most men ruin everything in the moments they assume it's already over. The silence gets to them, the unanswered texts, the distant energy, it eats them alive. They convince themselves she's gone, and that fear pushes them to act impulsively. That's when the begging begins. The emotional texts, the late-night calls, the desperate attempts to fix something they don't even understand. But the truth is, it's not always broken. She hasn't necessarily left. She simply stepped back to observe. In those moments, what a man does, or doesn't do, matters more than anything he ever said when things were good. If he panics, he proves her right to doubt. If he tries to smother the space with apologies, explanations, or emotional pleas, he only feeds her uncertainty. Women don't pull away looking for more attention. They pull away to see if your strength was real or circumstantial. They want to know if your calm energy is a performance or your true nature. This is where most men self-destruct. They think chasing is romantic, that showing her how much they care will bring her back. But what they don't realize is this. The more you try to prove your worth when she's pulled away, the more she sees you as unsure of it yourself. Desperation isn't love, it's fear wearing a mask. And fear repels what love attracts. But if you stay centered, if you don't chase, if you don't flood her silence with noise, you create contrast. You become the man who doesn't react emotionally to every shift in her mood. You send a message without saying a word, I'm good either way. That confidence is rare. It unsettles her expectations. She expected you to chase because most men do. When you don't, it makes her stop and think. And that pause in her mind? That's where the respect begins. Don't assume her silence means goodbye. It's often just a doorway to something deeper. But only if you can pass through it with your composure intact. Let other men panic. Let them beg. You hold your ground. That's the difference she'll never forget. When a woman pulls away, most men see it as a loss. They feel the emptiness where her presence used to be and interpret that space as rejection. But what they often miss is the hidden opportunity buried in that silence. Her absence is not just a void, it's a mirror. It reflects back to you who you are without her influence. It challenges you to stop focusing on her and start returning to yourself. And in that space there is freedom. Freedom to think clearly again. Freedom to get back to your purpose, your path, your identity. Most men don't realize how much of themselves they've given up until the woman steps away. They've slowly rearranged their priorities around her, sacrificed their routine, neglected their goals, all in the name of closeness. So when she creates distance, the man suddenly feels lost, not just because she's gone but because he is. But this is where transformation begins. Her distance gives you the room to re-anchor in who you were before she entered your life. To sharpen your vision. To get back on your grind, not to impress her, not to win her back, but because you remember you had a mission before you met her. That's where real power lies, not in convincing her to return, but in reclaiming the parts of yourself you gave away too easily. When you use this space to grow, two outcomes are possible. Either she feels your evolution and is drawn back by your renewed energy, or she doesn't, and you've still elevated beyond who you were. In both cases you win. Why? Because the man who rises in her absence becomes a better version of himself, and that version doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't need. He attracts. Her distance isn't punishment. It's a gift in disguise, a window into your own reflection. Use it wisely. Instead of seeing her silence as abandonment, see it as permission to remember who the hell you are. The man who sees her absence as opportunity, not tragedy, becomes untouchable. And once you've found that level of self-possession, you'll never fear distance again. Attraction isn't built during the highs, it's built during the space between them. It's not the constant texting, the good morning messages, the late night calls, or the romantic gestures that forge lasting desire. Those things feel good, yes, but they don't create depth. Real attraction, the kind that makes a woman think about you long after you're gone, is built in the moments of uncertainty, in the silence, in the gaps where she wonders about you. That's where desire is born. When a woman pulls back, it triggers something in her too. At first, she may expect you to chase, to react like every other man before you, desperate to regain her warmth. But when you don't, when you remain composed and unbothered, something inside her starts to shift. She begins to question why you're not reacting, why you're not reaching out, why you're so calm. And that questioning plants the seed of curiosity. That curiosity becomes intrigue. And that intrigue becomes attraction. Because women aren't drawn to men who lose themselves the second affection is withheld. They're drawn to the man who remains grounded, the one who doesn't fall apart just because she needs space. That self-possession is rare, and rarity is irresistible. The moment you stop chasing her, you give her space to feel your absence. And women can't miss what's always in their face. They can only miss what has the strength to walk away and not look back. This is the paradox most men never understand. The more you try to prove your value during her silence, the less she feels it. But the more you retreat into your purpose, into your calm, the more she feels pulled toward you. Her emotions begin to do the work for you. Not because you said the right things, but because you didn't. You didn't chase. You didn't crumble. You didn't beg. You let her feel what life is like without your presence. And in that absence she starts to remember. Not just the good times, but the strength in you that no words could ever explain. When a woman pulls away, the average man panics. His mind races to find reasons. Was it something I said? Did I come on too strong? Is she talking to someone else? And in that mental storm he acts from fear. He starts overthinking, replaying conversations, and assuming the worst. That fear then turns into behavior, needy texts, sudden confessions, or worse, apologies for things he never did wrong. But none of this brings her closer. In fact, it only pushes her further away. Why? Because desperation is the biggest repellent to feminine attraction. What men fail to understand is that a woman isn't always pulling away to punish or abandon. Often she's simply moving through an emotional process, guided by instinct. Her retreat is a moment for reflection, not rejection. And what she's watching for, consciously or not, is your reaction. Not what you say, but what energy you carry. Can you hold your frame when things get uncomfortable? Or do you crumble the moment her attention fades? Women don't test men when things are going well. They test you in the cold, not in the warmth. They test your confidence, your emotional discipline, your ability to lead, without ever saying a word. And if your sense of identity relies on her being affectionate, then her silence exposes a painful truth. You were never standing on solid ground. This is where most men fail, not because they're bad people, but because they misunderstand what's happening. They think love means constant closeness. They think connection is something to be maintained at all costs. But true masculine presence is tested in discomfort, in moments of emotional distance, in silence, in uncertainty. That's where leadership is revealed. That's where respect is earned. So when she pulls back, don't respond with panic. Respond with peace. Don't try to convince her to return. Show her you don't need her to. Because the moment you try to win her back with desperation, you lose her respect. But the moment you stay grounded in her distance, you become the very man she's been hoping you'd be all along. Pain is a powerful teacher, especially the kind that comes when you think you've lost the woman you care about. It feels sharp, immediate, and overwhelming, like something's been ripped out of you. But that pain, if you let it, can become your greatest ally. It forces a choice. Will you collapse into the weakness she's secretly watching for, or will you rise into the man you were always meant to be? Most men let the pain control them. They act from it, speak from it, live from it. They spiral, lose focus, abandon their goals, and revolve their every move around trying to fix the emotional void she left behind. But that response only confirms to her what she feared, that you're not emotionally strong without her. That your confidence was dependent on her affection. And nothing kills attraction faster than showing her that her silence has power over you. But for the man who uses the pain differently, everything changes. He doesn't run from it, he sits with it. He uses it to sharpen his focus, to double down on his purpose, to reconnect with the man he was before she entered the picture. He doesn't see her distance as the end of everything. He sees it as the beginning of something new, his own growth. And the irony? That kind of strength is what draws her back. When she sees that her absence didn't destroy you, that you didn't chase, that you didn't beg, something inside her shifts. She starts to feel something she didn't expect: respect. That respect is the foundation of renewed attraction, and it only grows stronger the more grounded you remain. This is the paradox. When you stop trying to win her back, you become more attractive than ever. Because now you're not a man who needs her, you're a man who can thrive without her. That's the energy she can't forget. So let the pain refine you. Let it build you. Because when you stop fearing her absence, you become the kind of man no woman ever truly wants to lose. When a woman pulls away, many men rush to fix what they believe is broken. They believe that love is slipping through their fingers and that immediate action will stop the bleeding. But the reality is, in most cases, there's nothing to fix. What's happening isn't a mistake, it's nature. Her distance is not always a decision, it's an instinct. Something inside her is telling her to step back, to observe, to test. And the test isn't about your words, it's about your presence, your reaction, your ability to remain whole when she withdraws. This moment, as uncomfortable as it is your proving ground. It's where your emotional discipline is forged. Not in how well you can argue your case or express your feelings, but in how still you can remain when everything in you wants to react. Because here's the truth, she's not only watching what you do, she's watching who you become in her absence. Do you become anxious, needy, and insecure? Or do you become more focused, more grounded, more aligned with your mission? That version of you, the one who doesn't flinch in silence, is magnetic. She may not admit it, but she feels it. She feels when your energy stays calm. She feels when you don't chase. And that feeling builds something in her that can't be created through words: respect. Whether she returns or not becomes secondary. Because when you hold your frame, you've already won. You've kept your power. You've kept your dignity. You didn't abandon yourself trying to hold on to someone else. That alone elevates you above most men. And if she does come back, it's not because you begged, it's because you grew. She saw that her silence didn't break you. It made you sharper. That man is rare. That man is unforgettable. So the next time you think you've lost her, think again. You may have just entered the most important moment of all, the moment you stop proving yourself to her and start proving yourself to you. And that shift changes everything.